तिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललितां श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। We are studying Nectar of Instruction, and we can today's study verse number 6. This verse talks about Uttamadhikari Vaishnava and talks also about how we have to be careful while we deal with such a Vaishnava. Yesterday, I was giving the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class in the temple. So I came across a point written by Srila Prabhupada in the pulpit. Srila Prabhupada said that Lord Brahma was born from the lotus flower that emanates from the lotus navel of Lord Vishnu, who is lying down in the Garbhodak Sagar, the Garbhodakshai Vishnu navel is the source of birth for Lord Brahma. And then he says Brahma was born without Lord Vishnu's contact with Mother Lakshmi. Humanly, such a thing is not possible, but Lord can do anything. However, people may think, how can Lord Vishnu produce a child without any wife? Now, why such mentality exists in this world? Because people in this world are conditioned to think that what they think is correct. What they know is complete. Everyone lives in such a false pride that whatever I have learned, whatever I know, whatever I have experienced, that's the reality. That's how people, they visualize everything, and that's how they create a mindset. That mindset is called conditioning. And by the time a person leaves his body or her body, the person becomes conditioned to think in a particular manner, and that becomes the future of that person. So just because we have this projection mentality, the way we think, we project that consciousness upon everyone else around. So people have the same mentality while they deal with pure devotees of Krishna. And therefore, they start projecting their own misconceptions on the pure devotee. And in that way, they may misunderstand the pure devotee of Krishna, which may lead to serious problems in one's spiritual life. So, this verse will act as a warning to us to be careful in our dealings with pure devotees of Krishna and to know what it means to be a pure devotee. I mean, on what basis we see someone as a pure devotee and what are the external or superficial, you know, characteristics which should be neglected, right? So let's look at this verse 6. दृष्टये स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषे न प्राकृतत्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसां न खलु बुद्बुदफेन पङ्केर् ब्रह्मद्रवत्वमपगच्छति नीलधर्महि. But being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee as having a body, born in a low family, a body with a black complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. Because Ganges is always pure, supremely pure. So regardless of what is there in the water of the river Ganges, we consider it fit to take bath. We consider it, you know, sanctified and purified because of having come in contact with the lotus feet of Lord Sri Vikrama. So similarly, a pure devotee should not be seen on a material platform. Some examples are given, like what it means to see someone on a material platform. Bad complexion, deformed body, diseased body, infirm body, or the pure devotee may get angry very easily. The pure devotee might have the nature of being very critical, you know. The pure devotee may not be, may be a bit harsh in one's speech, but those things should not be considered. There can be physical defects visible in the body of a pure devotee. There can be psychological defects visible in the behavior of a pure devotee. But all that should not be considered. What should be considered is, okay, this person is a pure devotee of Krishna. That's the most important point, right? Shuddha Bhakti, the activity of the soul proper, in other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, is performed in a liberated condition. In Bhagavad Gita 14.26, it is stated, Mam chayopya bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuvaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Abhyabhicharani bhakti means unalloyed devotion. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed toward material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. And if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. A surrendered soul serves Krishna without material considerations. Anya vilashita shunyam. Jnana karmadhyanavitam. unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of the body and mind, such as jnana, mental speculation, and karma, fruitive work, is called pure bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the proper activity of the soul, and when one actually engages in unalloyed, uncontaminated devotional service, is already liberated. Sagunan samatityetan. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material conditions, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. Hmm. That's a very important point. One has to be a devotee to be able to see the other person also as a devotee. If one is not able to see the other person as a devotee, that means, and if the other person is a devotee, that means there's some defect in one's own vision. As explained in the previous verse, there are three types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyama Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and non-devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee and the non-devotee, in different ways. So here, what is being expected from us indirectly? Prabhupada is speaking it out that we should try to become a Madhyamadhikari Vaishnava, so that we can have clear understanding of who is a devotee, who is not a devotee, and who is a pure devotee of Krishna, so that we can accordingly deal with them. Mm. This is a big mistake which a new devotee generally does. That a new devotee will superficially start assuming not so advanced devotee to be a very advanced devotee, and in that way develops superficial, unreasonable expectations from such devotee. That's wrong. That's such a big mistake that we generally do in our relationships with people, that we start developing unrealistic, unreasonable expectations from them in any relationship. You know. So that should be avoided. That's very much necessary. One should know the boundary of any relationship and not cross it just because of some uh, sentiments or emotions. So here, if we know this person is a devotee of this level, then we should give respect also accordingly. We should expect things, behavior also accordingly, and not expect more than what is to be expected. If we do that, certainly there will be frustration. And when there will be frustration, there will be disruption in that relationship. So here is being said, a Madhyamadhikari can distinguish. So a Madhyamadhikari can know who is an Uttamadhikari, and a Madhyamadhikari can then therefore properly deal with an Uttamadhikari Vaishnava, the way it should be done. No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is the spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Lord, as stated in Bhagavad-gita 9.50. Api chet suduracharo vajate ma ananyabha sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vyavasuto hisaga. Even if a devotee sometimes seem to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person, because his actual identity is that of one engaged in the loving service of the Lord. In other words, he is not to be considered an ordinary human being. So this is interesting, the way Prabhupada has put this particular verse in this verse of Updeshamrita. He is talking about pure devotees of Krishna. But then he brings up this verse, Apichet Sudurachari, Bhajate Mam Ananyabhat. So what he's trying to say is that Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, sometimes in our perspective, they may appear to be sinful also. They may appear to be engaging in wrong activities, abominable activities. But if they are fixed up in their determination to serve Krishna, we should see them as a saintly person only, right? What to speak of a normal person, even as per this verse, a devotee can fall into abominable activities. Sudurachara. Example is Achaman. Mm. And sometimes, people say, Nuttamadhikari Vaishnava cannot fall down, Madhyamadhikari cannot fall down. But Prabhupada writes in the book Second Chance, of course, uh, it's a transcription of his lectures on that topic. He says even a pure devotee of Krishna can fall down. Hmm. And when they fall down in their behavior, they do not really fall down from bhakti. Why? Because within their mind, within their consciousness, they themselves know what I have done is wrong. It's an anartha. And they go to Krishna and pray to Krishna for forgiveness. And also they know that Krishna is doing that to teach them a lesson, that they should give up their pride, their arrogance, and become humble. So they still remain Krishna consciousness. They still remain a devotee of Krishna. That's why it's not really considered a fall down. Okay, next paragraph. Someone would like to read? Okay. Seems everyone is sleeping today with camera off. Gopal Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Even if a devotee sometimes seems to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person, because his actual identity is that of engaged in the loving service of the Lord. In other words, he is not to be considered an ordinary human being. Even though a pure devotee may not be born in a Brahmana or Goswami family, if he is engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswamis based on material consideration, caste, or heredity. The Goswami title is actually the monopoly of the pure devotees. Thus, we speak of the six Goswamis headed by Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami had practically become Muhammadans and had therefore before changed their name to Dabir, Khasa, and Sakara Malik. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Therefore, the Goswami title is not hereditary. The word Goswami refers to one who can control his senses, who is master of the senses, a devotee who is not controlled by the senses, but is a controller of the senses. Consequently, he should be called Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in a Goswami family. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Same thing Prabhupada is explaining. Though they were born in families, I mean, they were not born in families, but because they became subservient to the Muslim king, they were given Muslim titles and they were removed from the Brahmana society. But such an external uh, fall down from social status should not be seen as a black spot on their purity. They were still pure devotees of Krishna, though externally they had become Muslims. Next paragraph. Suchantan.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. According to this formula, the Goswamis who are descendants of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu are certainly devotees. But devotees coming from other families should not be discriminated against. Indeed, whether the devotees come from a family of previous acharyas or from an ordinary family, they should be treated equally. One should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami, and discriminate against him. Nor should one think, Here is a Nityananda Vamsha Goswami. There is an undercurrent of protest against our awarding the title Goswami to the American Vaishnavas of the Krishna consciousness movement. Sometimes people flatly tell the American devotees that their sannyasa or title of Goswami is not bona fide. However, according to the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in this verse, an American Goswami and a Goswami in a family of acharyas are non-different. Krishna.
Rashmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. On the other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of Goswami but is not born of a Brahmana father or of a Goswami in the family of Nityananda or Advaita Prabhu should not be artificially puffed up by thinking that he has become a Goswami. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. This Krishna conscious movement is a transcendental science, and there is no room for jealousy. This movement is meant for the Paramhamsas, who are completely free from all jealousy. Paramam Nirmat Saranam. Sorry.
Dharmam
One should,
Nirmatsaranam.
thank you, Prabhuji. One should not be jealous whether he is born in a family of Goswamis or has the title of Goswami awarded to him. As soon as anyone becomes envious, he falls from the platform of Paramhamsa. Thank you, Prabhuji. Should I continue?
Next paragraph. Yeah, Dayalu Govind Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. If we consider the bodily defects of a Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committing an offense at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is very serious. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described this offense as Hathi Mata, the mad elephant offense. The mad elephant can create a disaster, especially when it enters into a nicely trimmed garden. One should therefore be very careful not to commit any offense against a Vaishnava. Every devotee should be ready to take instructions from a superior Vaishnava, and a superior Vaishnava must be ready to help an inferior Vaishnava in all respects. One is superior or inferior according to his spiritual development in Krishna consciousness. One is forbidden to observe the activities of a pure Vaishnava from a material point of view. For the neophyte especially, considering a pure devotee from a material point of view is very injurious. One should therefore avoid observing a pure devotee externally, but should try to see the internal features and understand how he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In this way, one can avoid seeing the pure devotee from a material point of view, and thus one can gradually become a purified devotee himself.
Yes. So that's the main point, that we should see how the devotees engage in Krishna's service rather than looking at other aspects of the devotee's life. That's more important. How the devotee is serving Krishna. Because if that person is serving Krishna, that service to Krishna will purify the heart and consciousness and will make that person a pure devotee of Krishna. There's no other way that person will get purified. That's the only way. So because that person is engaged in doing the right thing, we should be happy, right? That is sufficient. If a person is sick and the person is taking medicine, one should be happy that that person will get cured soon. At present moment, that person might be not really in a good shape and therefore troublesome to us. But once the person becomes cured, then that person is going to be quite helpful actually to us. So like that, if a person is engaged in Krishna consciousness, even if that person is full of faults, that person will get rectified Right? That's how we should look at the Vaishnava. Next prayer, Munishwara.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj. Those who think that Krishna consciousness is limited to a certain section of people, a certain section of people, devotees, or a certain tract of land are generally prone to see the external feature of the devotee. Such neophyte, unable to appreciate the exalted service of the advanced devotee, try to bring the Mahabhagavata to their platform. We experience such difficulty in propagating this Krishna consciousness all over the world. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by neophyte God brothers who do not appreciate the extraordinary activities of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. They simply try to bring us to their platform and they try to criticize us in every respect. We very much regret their navy activities of poor fund of knowledge. An empowered person who is actually engaged in the confidential service of Lord should not be treated as ordinary human being. For it is stated that unless one is empowered by Krishna, one cannot spread Krishna consciousness movement all over the world.
Yeah. See,
Hare
here
Krishna.
Prabhupada is talking very directly about his experience with his God brothers. He is not taking his own name, but it's directly his experience. He preached Krishna consciousness all over the world. But his God brothers, hardly few of them, they appreciated wholeheartedly. Most of them, they criticized Prabhupada, that he has not done a big thing. It's a coincidence that he was able to bring some people to Krishna consciousness out of envy. So Shubhad is saying that that is very naive and it's due to poor fund of knowledge. But this is how, great souls are. Even if they have come to do good for others, like the disciples of Jesus Christ, they crucified Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ had come to do benefit for them. Similarly, uh, in the case of Prophet Muhammad, his own followers, they betrayed him, cheated him. And that's what happens with most of the great souls, that normal people, ordinary people are hardly able to understand them, and then they start finding faults in them. So Shiva is saying that, but such an empowered person should not be treated as an ordinary human being. And Srila Prabhupada is one of them, but he was also heavily criticized by others that his teachings are very basic. He is not doing what Bhakti-sastri did. So many other things. Next paragraph. Gita Mataji. Last time also there was a problem with the microphone. Today also it's making the same noise. Can you speak through the microphone of
Is it
Manish?
working now?
We can hardly hear you, Mataji.
Just give me a
Volume
minute.
is too low.
Is it good? Is it better now?
Make it a little more loud.
Maybe it's full. My phone, like my
Then
volume
you
is
speak,
full
come
now.
closer. Are you speaking from distance? Are you using a Bluetooth mic?
No, Prabhuji, it's on speaker right now, and I just closed to my mouth.
Okay. Read it.
Yes, okay,
Just,
Prabhuji.
Sorry?
Is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, Prabhuji. When one thus criticizes a pure devotee, he commits an offense, Vaishnav Aparadh, that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Everyone should therefore be very careful not to be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or a Shuddha Vaishnava. It is also an offense to consider an empowered Vaishnava an object of disciplinary 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 action. It is offensive to try to give him advice or to correct him. One can distinguish between a neophyte Vaishnava and an advanced Vaishnava by their activities. The advanced Vaishnava is always situated as the spiritual master, and the neophyte is always considered his disciple. The spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should a spiritual master be. Prabhuji, I think the screen is gone.
Just a second. Sorry.
The spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should a spiritual master be obliged to take instruction from those who are not his disciples. This is the sum and substance of Srila Rupa Goswami's advice in the sixth verse. Prabhuji,
Okay. So when one thus criticizes a pure devotee, commits an offense, Vaishnava Parat. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Therefore, we should not be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or a Shuddha Vaishnava. Yes. The advanced Vaishnava is always situated as the spiritual master and should be thus respected. Sum and substance of the person's advice. Okay, that's where sixth verse ends. Any question from this verse before we go to the next one? Yeah, Dayalu Govindu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, I just wanted a little more understanding on how to give respect to all devotees and understand their level at the same time. So, should it be like we should be respectful towards everyone, but the expectation that we take from the other devotees depends on the level, on that level? How do we understand that?
Okay, so we have to be respectful to everyone. That's the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But different people have to be shown respect differently or in a different way. We have to see what is required to be done, who is at what level. Some people you can just greet them Hare Krishna when you see them. Some people you have to bow down. Some people you have to give full dandavats. Right? So how we have to show respect will vary from person to person. Some people you just give a smile. We can't respect them equally. Nor should we, because if someone is given more respect than what he or she deserves, that's also not healthy for that person. But it's fine, we can give more respect to someone, but it's not good for that person. So we understand who is at what level and give respect. Now, if the other person is in an ego that I deserve more respect because I'm in a position or I'm senior or I'm this and I'm that, then if you want to be in the good books of that person, then be diplomatic, give more respect to that person. But that's not from the heart, that's external. But from heart, we can give as much as they deserve. Externally, sometimes you may have to give more than what they deserve because of the situation. It's okay. Hare Krishna. Rajni Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, please explain about the jealousy on the Shuddha Vaishnava. Like, what exactly Prabhupada want to explain?
Prabhupada is saying that one should not be jealous of a Shuddha Vaishnava, a pure devotee of Krishna, because or a Shuddha Vaishnava is not jealous of others. Hmm. That's the quality of a pure devotee. And he or she is not envious of others. Nirmatsarani. So Prabhupada is saying here that if people are jealous of him, why did he spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world? Then how can they be pure Vaishnavas? If they are pure, how can they be jealous of Srila Prabhupada? They should be very happy, pleased.
Okay.
Right? And if they are jealous, then they cannot be pure Vaishnavas. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Yeah. So let's go to the next verse. स्यात् कृष्णनामचरितादिसिताप्य विद्या पित्तोपतप्तरसनस्य न रोचिकानुः किन्त्वादरादनुदिनं खलु सैव जुष्टा स्वाद्विक्रमाद् भवति तद्गतमूलहन्त्री. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet, like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So this is a stage of ruchi. Ruchi means interest. Develops interest in Krishna consciousness through the practice of chanting of holy names. The anarthas are gone in the heart. Anartha nivritti happens. Let's read the poem.
The holy name of Lord Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhupada. The holy name of Lord Krishna, his quality, pastimes, and so forth are all of the nature of absolute truth, beauty, and bliss. Naturally, they are very sweet, like sugar candy, which appeals to everyone. Nescience, however, is compared to the disease called jaundice, which is caused by bilious secretions. Attacked by jaundice, the tongue of a deceased person cannot palatably relish sugar candy. Rather, a person with jaundice considers something sweet to taste very bitter. Avidya, ignorance, similarly, perverts the ability to relish the transcendently palatable name, quality, form, and pastimes of Krishna. Despite this disease, if one with great care and attention takes to Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy name, and hearing Krishna's transcendental pastimes, his ignorance will be destroyed, and his tongue enabled to taste the sweetness of the transcendental nature of Krishna and his paraphernalia. Such a recovery of spiritual health is possible only by the regular cultivation of Krishna consciousness.
Next paragraph. Sujata Mundaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When a man in the material world takes more interest in the materialistic way of life than in Krishna consciousness, he is considered to be in a diseased condition. The normal condition is to remain an eternal servant of the Lord. Jivera Swarupa Haya, Krishnera Nitya Dasa. This healthy condition is lost when the living entity forgets Krishna due to being attracted by the external feature of Krishna's Maya energy. This world of Maya is called Durashraya, which means false or bad shelter. One who puts his faith in Durashraya becomes a candidate for hoping against hope. In the material world, everyone is trying to become happy, and although their material attempts are baffled in every way due to their naisance, they cannot understand their mistakes. People try to rectify one mistake by making another mistake. This is the way of the struggle for existence in the material world. If one is in this condition is advised to take the Krishna consciousness and be happy, he does not accept such instructions.
The Krishna consciousness movement is being spread all over the world just to remedy this gross ignorance. People in general are misled by blind leaders. The leaders of human society, the politicians, philosophers, and scientists are blind because they are not Krishna conscious. According to Bhagavad-gita, because they are bereft of all factual knowledge, due to their atheistic way of life, they are actually sinful rascals and are the lowest among men. Namam duskritino muraha prapatyante naradhimaha maya pahitagyana asuram bhavam pashadadhu. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Next paragraph. Yes, but that
Such people never surrender to Krishna, and they oppose the endeavor of those who wish to take Krishna's shelter. When such atheists becomes leader of society, the entire atmosphere is surcharged with nescience. In such a condition, people do not become very enthusiastic to receive this Krishna consciousness movement. Just as a deceased person suffering from jaundice does not relish the taste of sugar candy. However, one must know that for jaundice, sugar candy is the only specific medicine. Similarly, in the present confused state of humanity, Krishna consciousness, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the only remedy for setting the world aright. Although Krishna consciousness may not be very palatable for a deceased person, Srila Rupa Goswami nonetheless advises that if one wants to be cured of the material disease, he must take to it with great care and attention. One begins his treatment by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because by chanting this holy name of the Lord, a person in the material condition will be relieved from all misconceptions. Cheto Darpana Marjana. Avidya, a misconception about one's spiritual identity, provides a foundation for ahankara, or false ego within the heart. Hare Krishna.
next paragraph, Rashmi.
Hare Krishna. The real disease is in the heart. If the mind is cleansed, however, if consciousness is clean, a person cannot be harmed by the material disease. to cleanse the mind and heart from the misconception, one should take to this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is both easy and beneficial. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is immediately freed from the blazing fire of material existence. There are three
Please,
stages in
please chant.
There are three stages in chanting the holy names of the Lord: the offensive stage, the stage of lessening offense, and a pure stage. When a neophyte takes to this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, he generally commits many offenses. There are 10 basic offenses, and if a devotee avoids this, he can glimpse the next stage, which is situated between offensive chanting and pure chanting. When one attains the pure stage, he is immediately liberated. This is called Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. As soon as one is liberated from the blazing fire of material existence, he can relish the test of transcendental life. Should I?
So Prabhupada talks about 3 stages of chanting: Nama, Namaparad, Namabhas, and Shuddhanam. So when we start chanting Shuddhanam, then we get the real taste of the holy name. Even in Namabhas, some idea becomes available, experienced. But in Shuddhanam, one actually gets the taste of the holy name. And in Namaparad, one is just experimenting, actually, trying to develop the habit of chanting the names. Next paragraph. One is from
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The conclusion is that in order to get freed from the material disease, one must take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for creating an atmosphere in which people can take to the chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna mantra. One must begin with faith, and when this faith is increased by chanting, person can become a member of society. We are sending Sankirtana parties all over the world, and they are experiencing that even in the remotest part of the world where there is no knowledge of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra attracts thousands of men to our camp. In some areas, people begin to imitate the devotee by shaving their heads and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra only a few days after hearing mantra. This may be imitative, but imitating of a good thing is desired. Some imitators gradually become interested in being initiated by the spiritual master and offer themselves for initiation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. When a person is relieved, if one is sincere, he is initiated, and this stage is called Bhajan Kriya. One then actually engages in the service of the Lord by regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, 16 rounds daily, and refrains from the illicit sex, intoxicants, meat eating, and gambling. By Bhajan Kriya, one attains freedom from the contamination of materialistic life. He no longer goes to a restaurant or hotel to taste so-called palatable dishes made with meat and onions, nor does he care to smoke or drink tea or coffee. He not only refrains from illicit sex but avoids sex life entirely. Nor is he interested in wasting his time in speculating or gambling. In this way, it is to be understood that one is becoming cleansed of unwanted things, anartha nivriti. The word anartha refers to unwanted things. Anarthas are vanquished when one becomes attached to the Krishna conscious movement. Hare Krishna.
When a person is relieved from unwanted things, he becomes fixed in executing his Krishna activities. Indeed, he becomes attached to such activities and experiences ecstasy in executing devotional service. This is called bhav. So Srila Prabhupada here is very systematically explaining the different stages of devotional service. Hmm? The preliminary awakening of dormant love of God. Thus, the conditioned soul becomes free from material existence and loses interest in the bodily conception of life, including material opulence, material knowledge, and material attraction of all variety. At such a time, one can understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is and what his Maya is. Next paragraph. Yes. Okay, going from.
Although Maya may be present, it cannot disturb a devotee once he attains the bhava stage. This is because the devotee can see the real position of Maya. Maya means forgetfulness of Krishna, and forgetfulness of Krishna and Krishna consciousness stand side by side like light and shadow. If one remains in shadow, he cannot enjoy the facilities offered by light, and if one remains in light, he cannot be disturbed by the darkness of shadow. By taking to Krishna consciousness, one gradually becomes liberated and remains in light. Indeed, he does not even touch the darkness. As confirmed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.31, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andhakara, Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikara. Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy, will immediately vanish.
Yeah. So this verse we read talks about sambandha, relationship. These 5 things, they help us in establishing a relationship with Krishna. Krishna Nama, Chaitadi. So Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. 5 things, right? Name, Rupa means form, Charita means qualities and characteristics. Guna means qualities, Leela means pastimes, Sangha means associates. So all these, they help us establish relationship with Krishna. And that acts as a medicine for our disease of material existence. Okay, yeah. Any question from here? Next verse. तन्नामरूपचरितादिसुकीर्तनानो स्मृत्यो क्रमेण रसनामनसि नियोज्य तिष्ठन् व्रजे तदनुरागिजनानुगामी कालं नयेदखिलमित्युपदेशसारम्. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. Niyojya rasana manasi kramena. means engage the tongue and the mind step by step. In this way, one should reside in Braja, Golok, Vrindavan Dham and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityoho Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyochya. Tad Anuragi Jananugami. Anugaman. Anugaman means to follow behind. Follow behind whom? Tad Anuragi, those who have anurag, great attachment towards Vraja, Vrindavan. Kalam Nayet Akilamityupadesha Saram. This is the essence of all instruction. So this verse talks about Raganuga Bhakti. We'll discuss more this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, following in the footsteps of the Vaishnavas in Braja, Brajavasis, because they have anurag for Krishna. So in the text 7, we discussed about the stage of ruchi, which means taste in Krishna consciousness. Now in this text 8, we come to the stage of bhava, from ruchi to bhava. One is executing Krishna consciousness on liberated platform. And that's why one is able to follow in the footsteps of a liberated soul who is a resident of Vrindavan Dham, Vraj. So this is the essence of this book. Nectar of instruction itself is an essence. That's why it's called Upadesh Amrita. And this verse is the essence of the essence. Starting from Vachavegam, now coming to this very, very elevated instruction to follow in the footsteps of a pure devotee of Krishna. So the process is progressive. When we begin to chant Krishna's name, we would naturally someday want to see Krishna, see his form, will be attracted to seeing his form. Oh, he's so beautiful, he's so sweet, he's so charming. His lotus feet are so soft. His eyes are so beautiful. His hands are so beautiful. So one will always meditate on Krishna in this way. Right? And as one meditates on Krishna, looks at Krishna's beautiful form, then one is also able to notice Krishna's expressions. Krishna is happy, Krishna is unhappy, Krishna is joking, Krishna is very concerned. In that way, one develops more strong and deep relationship with it. And slowly, slowly, then he's also able to observe Krishna's associates. Oh, Krishna is not alone. Krishna is with the gopis, Krishna is with cows, Krishna is with the monkeys, Krishna is with his cowboy friends, Krishna is playing the flute, Krishna is sitting on the tree or lying down below the tree. And then one is able to see Krishna's pastimes. So in this way, one's mind will gradually become engrossed in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada, that's why in the purport says, the mind should be trained in this manner. Let's read the purport. Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. Did we read the translation of this verse? Yes?
Yes, bro.
No. Okay. Let's read the purport. Mukta Mataji, first paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for training the mind to be always engaged in Krishna's business. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's function can become dangerous for a conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of mind's various psychological changes. In Bhagavad-gita 8.6, it is said, Prabhuji, can you please scroll the screen? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajyati ante kalevaram tam tam evati kaunteya sada tad bhav bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Prabhu, should I continue?
Someone else, please, Manish.
At the time of death, the mind and intelligence of living entity creates a subtle form of a certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can transfer to the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. The process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advised devotees to train their mind in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. Simply, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna Prasad. Srila Rupa Goswami further advised Titshan Vraja, one should live in Vrindavan or any part of Vrajbhumi or the land of Vrindavan. It's supposed to be 84 korsas in area. One korsa equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. This is further elucidated by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Ras Amrita Sindhu 1.2.294. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here it's recommended one should live in Vrindavan or Vraja. Physically or mentally. And then what one should do there? Krishnam smaran janam chasya prishtam richa samihutam tattat katha ratas chaso kuryad vasam raje sada. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Vraja and always engage in Krishnam smaran janam chasya prishtam, the remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, Srila Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. Yes. Someone else would like to read? What others? Are you all there or not? Gopal Krishna.
Hare Krishna. In the transcendental realm of Vradham,
Read this,
one
please. Again.
Again, Sri Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.295, Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipshuna karya vraja lokanu sarata. In the transcendental realm of Vrajadham, one should serve the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Can you just scroll a bit? With a feeling similar to that of his associates, and one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practices executed while in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization. When one is a siddha purusha or a spiritually perfect soul. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastime, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastime, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service.
Thank you. So he has said, Vaishnav Goswami Seva Sadhaka Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. It's a very detailed explanation of this verse is given in Bhakti-sastri Sindhu, but here we'll not discuss that. Basically, in this verse is talking about two states of being of an advanced Vaishnava. One is the external and the other is the internal. The external is called Sadhak Rup and the internal is called Siddha Rup. Which means externally the devotee will engage in the basic sadhana like any other normal devotee. But internally the devotee will be engaged in eternal pastimes of Lord Krishna in Siddha Rup. Means two simultaneous existence. One in Golokdham, the other in the material world. In the material world as a sadhaka, in Golokdham as a siddha. So when we say we are going to follow in the footsteps of advanced Vaishnava and Raja, that following is not done through the sadhak deha, that's done through the siddha deha, which means there is an internal form that develops, and through that form one follows in the footsteps of the devotee in the spiritual world. Then Bhakti-siddhanta Thakur talks about smaranam or remembrance from contemplation. No, when we say I remembered, our remembrance is what? Okay, you had seen a particular banner or a hoarding while driving in the car, and then after a few minutes you remember what was the name on the hoarding. That's not the remembrance that is being spoken about here. Here they are talking about more of meditation or contemplation. That's called remembrance. To remember, smarana. So here Bhakti-siddhanta Thakur is going to talk about different levels of smarana, remembrance, in the next paragraph. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. So hearing Krishna Katha is also one kind of smarana, remembrance. By hearing, you remember. So this stage is called Shravan Darshan. That you are hearing, and by hearing you are remembering. Fine. That's one way. Then the next one is by constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. So from Shravana Dasha to Varana Dasha. Varana Dasha means you finally start to accept what you are hearing. That's called Varana Dasha, acceptance of what we are hearing. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smarana Avastha, the stage of remembering. Then comes the next stage, that when one is able to chant in ecstasy, Naam Krishna Katha, hear Krishna Katha in ecstasy. Then one comes to the stage of Smarana Avastha, the stage of remembering. Remembering Krishna in a very meditative manner. Then within this Smarana Avastha, there are 5 stages: recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Okay, so they are explained now one by one. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals. but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the state of samadhi, the spiritual trance. Then, after Smarana Dasha or Samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand its constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Sampatti Dasha, perfection of life. Just a second. I think I have put it all in a PDF for better understanding. Yeah. So, not in a PDF, it's a table. So, what are these 5 stages? Maybe you can note them down. Shravan Dasha is you're always chanting Krishna Nam and hearing Krishna Katha. Varana Dasha is you are attached to hearing Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan. Then Smarana Dasha has 5 stages: Smarana, Dharana, Dhyan, Anusmriti, and Samadhi. Prabhupada translates that in English as recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. So recollection means you are remembering Krishna's pastimes, qualities, name, characteristics. But there is interruption, in between. However, when that remembrance becomes prolonged, then it's called dharana. And when then it becomes focused, then it's called dhyan. When it becomes detailed and steady, it becomes anusmriti. And when that anusmriti becomes prolonged, it's called samadhi. So then comes the next stage, is known as apandasha, which is mentioned here by Srila Bhakti-sastri Thakur. In that stage, one is able to see one's siddha swarup, one's eternal spiritual form. And finally comes sampatti dasha, means one has actually entered into the spiritual form or personality that one has. One has actually realized it and entered into Krishna's pastimes. And so this is the gradual, progressive development of remembrance of Krishna and realizing one's constitutional position. Okay? Okay. Let's read the next paragraph. Yes, Rukmini, go into.
A neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises that those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engage in the regulative devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of the scripture. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti or devotional service in spontaneous love. At that stage, the devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti or spontaneous devotional service can be executed in the Shantaras when one aspires to be like Krishna's cows, or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around Krishna's neck. In the Dasyaras, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitraka, Patraka, or Raktaka. In the friendly Sakhyaras, one can become a friend like Baladeva, Sridama, or Sudama. In the Vatsalyaras, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda. Nand Maharaj or Yash and Yashoda. And in the Madhuryaras, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani or her lady friends such as Lalita and her service mates, Manjaris like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instruction in the matter of devotional service.
Thank you. Okay, please stop here. Yes. Please, anything?
Prabhu, I have one question. In this, the last we discussed, I don't know if you made a statement or you asked a question about Vrindavan. It was said, should we live in Vrindavan mentally and physically? You asked something, or you said it should be both? Or
I said that here when it says to be in Vrindavan or reside in Vrindavan, it can mean both physically and mentally.
Okay.
Not necessarily only physically.
And when we say mentally, how? So
mentally means you're always thinking of Vrindavan. Basically, you're in the mood to serve. If the mood to service is there, that is the mood of Vrindavan. That I want to serve. I want to serve Krishna. I want to serve Krishna's devotees. Always. So one who does that, that person is living in Vrindavan.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Sujata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can we go once more about that remembrance levels of Smarana? How do we
Okay, there are 5 levels.
Um,
Within Smarana Dasha, there are 5 levels. So they are known as
Ravana Dasa.
Dharana, Dhyan, Anusmriti, and Samadhi. These are 5 levels within Smarana Dasha. There are 5 stages: Shravan Dasha, Varana Dasha, Smarana Dasha, Apan Dasha, and Sampatti Dasha. And within Smarana Dasha, there are 5 levels of remembrance. One is known as Smaran, next is known as Dharan, third is known as Dhyan, fourth is known as Anusmriti, and fifth is known as Samadhi.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Govind Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, my question was with regards to the last paragraph. So the relationship that we want to like inculcate with Krishna, so that will come only after we reach Raganuga Bhakti, right? So here it says that one can serve like a friend or in Shantrasa like a cow.
Yeah.
But that should not be the original, like starting. It should not be a thing that we should think about at the start. Is that the correct understanding?
No, you cannot think of that in the beginning. It will only be revealed after we come to the stage of Raganuga. Otherwise, it's just in the mental platform, on the mental platform. There's no reality to it. It's only imagination. So once become purified, then one is revealed, okay, this is your identity, this is your bhav, this is your way of serving Krishna. Then one develops on that. Before that, it's only a sentiment. Okay, I would like to be a gopa, I would like to be a gopi, I would like to be this, I would like to be that. That's not correct. Because the underlying rasa for all the rasas is dasa bhav. Until unless we have completely become, absorbed in that mood of being a servant, the other rasas will not evolve. Because all those rasas are founded on this rasa that I am a servant of Krishna. Like, to give you an example, if someone is a friend of Krishna, friend in what sense? To enjoy Krishna? No, to serve Krishna. If someone is a parent of Krishna, parent in what sense? To enjoy Krishna? To serve Krishna. If someone is a wife or a girlfriend of Krishna with the mood of enjoying Krishna, no, to serve Krishna. So the foundational rasa is dasa bhav. Now, when that dasa bhav has not yet developed sufficiently, how can other rasas develop? They cannot. So first of all, that mood of service has to develop, which means one has to become free from conditional life and become a liberated soul. Then the heart is completely pure of anarthas and one can become a pure devotee, a pure servant, you can say. And when a pure servant, then that pure servant can become a father, a mother of Krishna, girlfriend of Krishna, wife of Krishna, friend of Krishna, a servant of Krishna. Lakshmi Mataji.
Prabhuji, where can I read this Chitraka, Patraka, and Raktaka? These personalities, Prabhuji? I'm reading first time.
Not much is mentioned about them in detail anywhere. Some details are given in the book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Okay. Yes. And about this Manjiris also, Prabhuji, like Ruparati.
Little details, not much. In some writings of Goswamis.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. There are not much details given about them in general. In some Goswami literature, you'll find where Krishna's pastimes are mentioned, then these manjaris or gopis are described. But more details of them will be available to those who are qualified to know about them by their sadhana. So there'll be revelation about the representative. But some details are there about some manjaris. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anything else? We'll stop here. Thank you so much. See you in the next class, and we'll then complete this book in the next class. So you can be prepared for the exams for this particular